Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we've had some fun hockey over the last little bit. We've had quite a bit of news come out. One of the biggest things I know we've literally all been waiting for this for at least a year now, but we finally know the Utah have a name for sure, and it's not going to be the Utah Hockey Club going forward.
Thank fuck. I'm so glad it's not Utah Hockey Club. They would have lost all credibility if they stuck with that, in my opinion. I'm so glad they went in a different direction.
I was a little worried when they announced like the 20 names, and then later on they announced the final 3 a couple months ago or whatever, and then it came out that they couldn't get the rights to the Utah Yeti, and they replaced Yeti with Hockey Club. I was like, I don't think they will, but there was a part of me that was like, maybe they'll just stick with it, and I just think, I think that would have been lame as far as logos, mascots, just a bit of an extra identity goes. But we do now know that they are officially the Utah Mammoth. The logo looks sick. The jerseys look pretty damn good. I think they could use a little more of the powder blue color on the primary instead of the black, but I think that'll come with time, and honestly, it still looks pretty solid on its own. But
yeah, I got no major issues with it. One thing I will say is it's so weird that they decided to, especially after seeing how the draft lottery went and whatnot, I don't know why they didn't unveil it like on Monday, and then you could have had, the first showing of the logo and whatnot during the draft lottery and whatnot, and then especially when you won and you moved up to 4th overall, could have had the logo in there instead of just dropping it on a random Wednesday. And the other thing I will say, I really do like
it
the
was
logo.
Just a random day. Yeah.
It was just a random day. And as much as I like the logo, it is not like people are like, "Oh, what a creative original idea." No, it's not. It's a very cool looking logo, but it's probably the least original logo. Still. Not saying it's a bad logo, but it's basically you basically took a lot of the parts of Nashville's logo and Minnesota's and combined it into one. Still looks good, but it's just we just can't say it's like people are saying, "Oh, what an original creative logo." No, it's not. Like
it looks sick. Like it looks sick with
no doubt.
And the mountains coming off of the back of the Mammoth, showing like Utah's mountain ranges. Like that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's not like that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, like kind of using the same style as Nashville's, but also incorporating like within the Mammoth, you've kind of got like the scenery and whatnot, kind of like Minnesota. And again, not saying it's a bad logo. I like it a lot. I think it looks very clean, but
the kind of view
saying it's original, it's no.
Yeah, the kind of view that it makes with the Mammoth tusks, that's a pretty cool touch. I really like that.
I like that part too, yeah.
Like it's a good logo, but it's not exactly reinventing the wheel, and you don't need to with sports logos. Like the majority of them, if you look across enough sports, enough leagues, a lot of stuff's been done. It's hard to be super original with it.
Yeah.
But
I think the logo looks fine. I like the name. We are always on the Yeti camp, and once we knew that wasn't a possibility, what was the next best option we thought? Mammoth. And we got it. So
yeah.
Gives the team identity finally. I can stop making fun of them for being basic. Now build up a playoff team. Use this 4th overall pick you got, use this cap space, all these other picks you got, go out and basically do exactly what you did last offseason. Continue to just try to make this team better and, go for the playoffs now at this point.
Yeah, they honestly have a pretty solid roster. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs next year.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not. I don't know if I'd have to wait until the off season before I'd be like, oh, do I pick them or not? But if they made it next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, like Clayton Keller's been so good. He's only getting better. Logan Cooley, Josh Doan, Dylan Genther, especially. Like, Like a lot of those guys have taken next steps. Sergachev's been great for him. I believe Sean Dursey missed a good amount of last year,
Yeah.
injured. But when he's on, he's a really solid defenseman. Like they got good pieces, and they've got a couple of young prospects coming up while they've got this squad as well. So, and I'm just looking at their cap wages. They have all of their picks in the future except for their 7th, which of course was traded to Tampa for this year, because we love collecting 7th rounders. And then they have 2 extra seconds next year, an extra 3rd, an extra 4th, an extra 5th, and another extra 5th. Like
So they've got lots they can play around with and make
plenty of assets.
some
Like they've
magic
got great
happen.
players now. They've got prospects in their system. They got picks. Like they got some nice makings there.
The only thing that's tough for Utah is that they are in such a strong division in the Central.
It's a pretty tough
Like
division.
you look at, they already had 5 teams make it in this year. I don't expect any of them to fall off next year. If anything, I think most of them are only going to get better. And then there's still Nashville that's kind of hovering around. We don't know what to really expect from Nashville.
I've got
anymore.
no idea what
The
Nashville's
talent
gonna
is there for them to be a playoff team too. So basically, you've got 7 teams that are all realistic options for the playoffs, and then you got Chicago. But we're not expecting Chicago to do the playoffs. We know in 5 years or whatever, they're going to be one of the top teams in that division. So yeah, you got to make some magic happen this offseason. You got to put in some work and build this roster up, because again, it's not the Pacific Division where it's pretty. I'm not going to say easy to finish in the top 3 and make the playoffs, but it's much more likely in that division as opposed to the Central, which again is beefy.
Very beefy division. Moving on from that, we got a little bit of news around the league. We got some stuff about the World Cup of Hockey, and then I guess we'll also be talking about what's happened in the playoffs so far, and then we'll end it off with the award finalists. We now know the top 3 contenders for all of the trophies around the league. Which one do we want to go to next? Do we want to talk about the coaching changes, the World Cup?
Yeah, I say we just dive right into the coaching change, or the new hire in Anaheim.
Yeah, so the Anaheim Ducks this morning, I don't know if it's been like officially announced like by the team, but there's been like a lot of insiders saying that it's happened. It's just no official thing yet, but the Anaheim Ducks hired Joel Quenneville as their new head coach. Joel Quenneville, who was he the assistant coach in Chicago?
No, he was head coach. I don't. He might have started as. I'll look it up. He might have started as the assistant, but did move up to that coach. And yeah, it is official that they did hire him. The Ducks already had put out they already put out a full statement and everything. So
sick. Yeah, they
Joel
Quenneville, so Joel Quenneville, notoriously head coach for the Blackhawks.
Just head coach with the Blackhawks, never assistant.
Yeah, and namely during their 2010 Cup run, where Kyle Beach, of course, was sexually assaulted by the team's equipment manager, and he was one of the guys who helped cover it up, hide it, and in the name of not distracting the team. And I believe it was this last offseason when him, Stan Bowman, all those guys were, the ban was lifted on them in the NHL. And then that's when Stan Bowman was pretty quickly signed by the Oilers to be the GM. And, bro, you couldn't find...
Coach Q going to Anaheim now.
You couldn't find anyone better for the job. Like, so really? Come on.
The thing I'll say with this is, objectively looking at bring him as a head coach, he is a good head coach. It's all the outside stuff. Yes, that's there, but just looking at it from a team perspective, he is a good head coach, and I think he actually can instill some kind of winning culture for the Ducks. I know they were looking at other candidates. They were trying really hard to get David Carl from um, Denver. He didn't want to leave. And I mean, at this point right now, why would you? Like, if you can just wait until you get that perfect job opportunity, you've got a great gig. You're always one of the best teams in the NCAA. No need to rush it. So I think that's what the Ducks were going for. That wasn't available. So they look elsewhere. Yeah, the outside stuff isn't great. The things that have happened in the past, not great, obviously. But just looking at it from a team perspective of getting a proper head coach in there to build a winning culture within the team, it is a good move in that sense. But again, what have we said? If you hire someone onto your team in any role, or even bring in a player, and the first thing you have to do is put out like a public statement, kind of backing your decision, probably are doing something you shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
or you're not bringing in someone you should be bringing in. So
I mean,
again, and that's
it's
a big
really
part
them
of this
doing.
hiring.
It's really them them justifying this hiring is really a lot of the same of what the Blackhawks tried to justify before. Like they're like, yeah, we know he's a bad guy and does bad stuff, but we prioritize winning over that. And it's like, it's
Well, I
just
will say with
brutal.
Chicago though, he was already out as head coach there when was he? Or was he still there when the news came out?
I don't remember. He was probably gone by the time the news
Yeah,
came
no, yeah,
out.
he would have. He was with Florida when it came out, and that's why he
Yeah,
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 he
that's right.
stepped down in Florida when the news came out. So yeah, so he was already out in Chicago by the time the news dropped, but then yeah, with Florida it came out and he was kind of forced. I don't think he really did it on his own. I think he was kind of forced to
Yeah,
step down from head
yeah,
coach
because
there now.
he stepped down, but then in that off season, him and the rest of them were banned from working for the league for it was like a year and a half, and I guess that's just apparently
Mhm.
that's the price, even though they got paid out. Some of them got paid out for their contracts and everything. Like it, they have so many young guys on that team. It just feels like a bad move for the locker room. It just ain't it, Chief. There's so many
I
good
don't think
coaches
from
out
that side,
there.
like I don't think it's gonna wreck the locker room.
I don't think it's good. Like it just blows my mind because like we talked about it relatively recently. Marty St. Louis went from coaching either U12 or U14. He was coaching his son's team just for the love of the game.
Mhm.
And in that same year, he was coaching NHL games. I believe a handful of NHL playoff games for the Montreal Canadiens, one of the biggest franchise in the league. This year, we'll talk about it later. He's a finalist for the Jack Adams. Like he didn't have to. He didn't work up his way through the AHL. He wasn't part of the boys club. He's just I've always been a head coach, and people keep hiring me. Like they went out, they found this guy that they liked, and he's been phenomenal for him. Like
But when you're the Ducks at this point now, you don't really have that luxury, right? Like you can't go through another process of like they just tried that. They are just coming off a coach. Um, I can't even remember his name off the top of my head because he wasn't that great for them. But they did try that maneuver and it didn't work. Some teams it works out amazing for them, like Montreal, but Anaheim already kind of went through that process and it didn't work. And they're already at the point of improving. Like they're not picking, third, second overall, like they were the past couple years. They're now, I think, 10th, but they did move back. So would have been picking 8 if there was no
yeah,
movement. Um,
but you can
so,
find coaches that aren't about the rebuild that are good winning coaches in places other than the NHL. Like I don't think they just randomly picked Marty St. Louis because he's French Canadian and said, I don't know, I really hope you're good enough to coach in the NHL. Like, no, I think they were like, this is a huge outside pick, but like, let's see what he's got. And
but
they
again,
looked at
so
him a bit and went, he's good.
who would your pick be then for the Ducks, though?
Well, that's the thing. I can't say because I'm not in those rinks, but like, they're a huge organization. Send a couple scouts out to some of these teams. Send them out, and like if you're watching AHL, AAA junior teams, like, any of those guys at the drop of a hat, I don't give a shit what I'm doing. Yes, I will coach your NHL team. Like, instantly. Like, I just get the feeling that very few teams are even looking a little bit, you know? They're just interviewing the main 5 free agents of coaches every time.
In some cases, yes. Not all the time, but like we have talked about, the majority of the time, it is usually, yeah, it's kind of the recycling of the same coaches. And if you're looking to bring in a good head coach from those guys available, I mean, Joe Quenneville is the best available option of that crop. Um, and I guess more than anything,
I
we're
just
kind of
think it
hoping
sends a
that he
bad
can.
message to the team. It just
I,
we it just says we have no integrity and we want to
on
win.
that side, yes, but you are also sending message to the players that we want to win now. We don't want to keep being bottom of the league. Yeah, maybe in terms of the off ice stuff and whatnot, maybe yeah, because of the past, it does definitely probably does send a bad message there. But you are also sending message to your players that, you know, no more rebuild, no more tanking for picks. We're pushing for the playoffs. Um and I guess to the players at the end of the day, it comes down to how do they feel about that. Obviously, we are not in that locker room or
Yeah.
anything, so we have no idea how they're feeling. So maybe we'll hear something from some players at some point that maybe are interviewed or speaking on it. I mean, that's all we can kind of really do is
Yeah.
wait and see
Can't imagine
on
we'll hear
that.
much. Like
Yeah, I gotta imagine we probably hear
when do you hear about
absolutely nothing.
players do that? Like some of them will talk about it after they're retired or after the coach is gone from the team. But if we do hear about it, I can't imagine it'll be for a good bit.
Yeah. I think you're probably right on that, but I think at the end of the day, all we can kind of do is just wait till next season, see what the Ducks look like, and see if things are in turmoil or if they're a well-oiled machine. Because when Quenneville took over for the Blackhawks, back in the 08-09, kind of very similar position that the Ducks are in now. A lot of good young talent, and
A lot of high draft picks, yeah.
you can say what you want about Quenneville the person, but at the end of the day, he did win 3 Stanley Cups. Um, with Chicago in that process, they did lose in the Western Conference Final twice. So lot of success there, and all we can kind of do is see
It
whether
just
things
sucks
go
that
good
the
or bad
success
for.
means you'll get hired by anyone. Somebody's
At
gonna
the end of
hire
the day,
you.
that's what it is. Yeah,
Like
if
the
your
the
resume and your
league never
success
should have
is.
lifted the ban.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the ban should have just been um
And I will say,
yeah.
I haven't seen a single happy Ducks fan yet. I've seen a lot of Ducks fans that are so pissed.
I haven't seen any necessarily happy, but I've seen a lot of optimistic um Ducks fans online, specifically on Twitter, being like, I don't love this, but at the same time, if it's meaning that the team is actually serious about winning and he can instill a winning culture, even if he's only there for like 2 to 3 years, if he instills a winning culture for that team moving forward. So, and I think if you're a Ducks fan, I think that's all you can really do at the end of the day is just try to be, not like you have to be like happy, like, he's, you know, we love Quenneville. I think just trying to be optimistic about that, at least this franchise is starting to go in the right direction and trying to actually win again. Because I don't
Yeah,
think they've been in the playoffs since
been a bit.
2017, I believe
I would
was
say
their last year. So,
17,
if you don't
somewhere
make
around
it,
there.
if you don't make it next year, you're now looking at it's going to be 9 years, and then you're going for it the year after, and it's either you make it or 10 straight years without the plus, and then you're pushing Buffalo Sabres territory real fast if you start to
Yeah,
get there. So
yeah.
I guess just if you're a Ducks fan, be optimistic and hope it works out.
Yeah,
I think that's really
I've seen a
unthinkable.
lot of Ducks fans hoping that it'll be like a Babcock situation where it's so bad that they go out and find a new guy before the season even starts. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. I don't think these teams listen to the PR that much. Like, because Babcock didn't just get immediately sent on his ass because of all the backlash. I'm sure that didn't help, but it was because he immediately tried some of his old shenanigans in
Mm.
uh in
Well,
Columbus.
but two very different things
No, yeah.
between
No, yeah. I'm just
between
saying
these
like
two coaches.
I don't think even with all the stink about this, I don't think that's enough for him to get fired before the start of the next season. Like he would have to do something bad
Yeah, he would have
to
to go
do
out of his
that.
way to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Ducks moving forward. Um Moving on to the World Cup of hockey though. We've
World
got
Championship.
the World Championship. Do they call it the World Championship of hockey or is it
I think it's just the World Championship.
hmm, a whole bunch of players have announced that they're going to this. I believe they've played a couple of like they're almost like play-in games, but I don't think the tournament itself has actually started. This is being played in Stockholm, Sweden, and Herning, Denmark. I think they're splitting a lot of the games there. We got a whole bunch of NHL players going. Obviously, I've compiled a couple of lists here of just some of the bigger names that are playing for each team. We know we got Crosby, McKinnon, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Celebrini all playing for Canada, which I mean, but we thought Fleury's playing career was done, and there's a good chance this tournament's his last. But you know, fun to see Flower play again. Crosby and McKinnon connecting, that's awesome. That's huge learning moment for Celebrini playing with some of those guys.
Yeah,
Uh,
good to see Crosby and McKinnon playing together again.
yeah, uh, that like everyone's always talking obviously about Crosby going to the Avalanche over the last few years, but McKinnon did not seem happy after that game 7. Like like
Hmm.
I'm not saying he's asking out, but like he didn't seem very happy with the job that had been done. I wouldn't be shocked at all if there was a head coaching change there. Um, we got Jeremy Swayman, Zach Werenski, and Clayton Keller all playing for Team USA. UC Saros for Finland. Flames fans will love this one. We got Jacob Markstrom, Rasmus Anderson, Elias Lindholm, and Backlund all playing for Sweden. Also, Lucas Raymond playing for them. Mo Seider is going to do his best to carry Germany. Him and Grubauer, I guess, are going to do it over there. A couple of Devils, Heischer, Meyer, and Siegenthal are all playing for Switzerland. Marty Natchez is going to try and carry Czechia. Those are some of the players playing. I really don't know much about this tournament, to be honest. There's a lot more eyes there. I've just noticed there's a lot more news on it in general ever since Crosby announced he's going.
Yeah,
Like
I think
I
it's the first time ever that he's playing in this tournament. I think I read, so that might have something to do with
well,
it
it
too.
always happens in this time of year, right? Like this is
Yeah.
his second year missing the playoffs in the NHL, so I guess it would make
Hmm.
sense that he's never played in it. Dude's
But
always
even
playing
like you look
playoff
at a lot of the
hockey.
guys like the first round exits and whatnot, they go like he's never once made that
Oh, that's fair.
that decision as well. So, but
Yeah, McKinnon went to
and
a
again,
game
not
7
many
and
times
he's going.
not many times Penguins went out round one usually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
I don't really have much more to say on it. The tournament's kind of just starting to get underway officially now that the preliminary games are done. So we'll see how these players look, how the teams look, and come back to it when got a little bit more action going on in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Marty Natchez is one of the few guys that I was really familiar with that I saw announced for Czechia. Although I will say Czechia, the defending champs of the last tournament. So,
Yeah.
they're looking like underdogs, but they're also the defending champs. So it's hard to call them too heavy of an underdog.
Hmm. Yeah. Anytime you're walking as a champ, even if your team's a little bit worse, yeah, you're still probably going to be considered one of the favorites because you found a way to do it last year. So, um, I guess moving on from that, before we get into talking about the awards finalists and who we think will win each of them, let's talk a bit about round two of the playoffs. Round two is now officially underway. We've got a couple of games under, well, not our belts, but the team's belts. Where do you want to start? Any specific kind of headlining news? Any major games, moments, series? Anything you want to dive into first with it? We got decent little bit from every series we could talk about. So,
Yeah. I guess we might as well start with them because I believe this is the only series that's had 2 games so far. Leafs and Panthers. The Leafs have looked so solid in this series. Like it the Leafs are on like year 5 of so many people saying they look different this year, and then obviously they blow it so often that it's hard to quantify how they're really doing. But man, I mean, Sheldon Keefe to Craig Berube is such a different just coaching style. Like they look so different from last year in the way that they play, and they're just playing so well. Like they are able to play that good defensive game, kind of almost like a Winnipeg Jets type hockey, but they've also got a little bit of that like Colorado Avalanche. Like, you know, if you get that break, your guys fly a million miles an hour up the ice and can bury it. And they've got so many guys that can do that. Like, it's not just, you know, the McKinnon Makar. Like, they've got, you know, their fifth or sixth best guy at that is a really reliable hand. Like, they've just looked
yeah,
incredible, despite, you know, a lot of shenanigans from the Panthers. Like, I don't believe there's been any suspensions, maybe even fines yet.
on there,
But
in my opinion, there shouldn't be this far through it. The one thing I will say with Toronto is, first of all, the coaching change obviously is a huge thing, but I think it's unfair to say it's, oh, Craig Berube is why they're here. Like if they had Sheldon Keefe, would have been, first round sweep and whatnot. The biggest difference between this
yeah, that'd
Toronto
be a bit
team,
much.
um, in previous years compared to this year, aside from the coaching, is one, not only do you have a solid goalie, you actually have a capable backup. You look at previous years, if their starting goalie went down, they're fucked, right? So
And
as good
sometimes
as
they were
Stolarz
with their
was,
starting goalie,
yeah,
even.
and as good as Stolarz has been, even with him going down, Joseph Ola's come in and he can get the job done. Forwards relatively the same for the most part. It definitely helps that you have another year of experience out of Matthew Nyes, and he's really coming into his own. But the defense, you bring in Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who has been great on the back end, and he's got that. He knows how to win a Stanley Cup. No one else on this team. I don't think anyone else on this team does anywhere. Well,
Stolars.
and I guess aside from Stolarz, but
Yeah.
we already mentioned that he's a beast. And then Chris Tanev as well, who just plays a very great defensive game. Been one of the best defensive defensemen in the league for the last while. And that's something that Toronto has not had. You're relying on Morgan Riley to, hey, go out there and play, 28 minutes a night in the playoffs and produce a bunch of offense from the back end, but also be our shutdown guy. You can't, that's too much to ask from a guy like Morgan Riley. Great defenseman, but not in that elite category like some of those guys that he can do that. And it's all kind of coming together now. And in this series, Toronto's shown that they can do both. I thought they dominated pretty much most of game one, had a couple slip ups, but that happens. And in game two, I thought Florida was actually the better team for the majority of the game, and Toronto still found a way to win. So against a good Florida team, you now know you can control a game and win, and you can be outplayed, but you can still find a way to beat them. And having that ability that you can do both, against the a team that just went to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, just won the cup last year. Knowing you can do that against them and having a 2-0 series lead now is just
Yeah.
great for that team. It's got to be great for the guys in the locker room. It's got to make the coaching staff feel great about where they're at here. And you just keep rolling with what you're doing. Don't get crazy with it. Just keep rolling what's going. And until it stops working, just keep plugging away.
Yeah, like this is a really well built team. Like their entire top 12 forwards are so good. Like Matthew Nyes fits so well on that top line. Like over the past 7 years, it's been an absolute carousel in that top six. Obviously, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander generally are in that top six in whatever combination you're trying. But it was people were getting moved all over for years. And now Marner, Matthew Nyes, that is so solid. Pacioretty has been incredible with Nylander and Tavares. And that even leaves a fantastic shutdown line in Lorentz, Lawton, Yarncroke on the third line.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bobby McMahon, Max Domi, Pontus Holmberg. There might be some better fourth lines around the league, but probably not many.
And the way Max Domi's been playing so far in the playoffs, like, he was getting
that's pretty nice on your fourth
fans
line
all regular season, and come playoff time had a bit of a rough start, but he's been playing much better as of late, and is very important to this team.
Yeah, same with Morgan Riley. Like he had one of the worst regular seasons he's had in a long time, and bam, instantly, as soon as the playoffs start, dude's on.
Yeah,
he's the
doing
all-time
really well too.
All-time playoff goal scorer now for the Maple Leafs in franchise history with 14, I believe.
From a defenseman.
Yes.
From a defenseman, yeah. Yeah, right now in this series, I mean, Toronto couldn't ask to be in a better spot. You won the first two. If you can even just take one of the next two in Florida, you're probably winning this series. I'm not going to say for sure, because with this Florida team, you kind of like Edmonton right now. You can never count them out until they're dead. Until you've officially won that fourth game you need to win, and you've ended their playoff run. You can't count them out. But if you can win at least one, and then you lose the other one, at least knowing we just have to win one of the next three. And if it goes, and through that, it'll be, if it goes 7, it's at least 2 in our barn, 1 in theirs. So at that point, you just got to find a way to sneak out one win. And most likely with this Toronto team, they would be able to do that. So very good spot for Toronto right now, and just looking to see how Florida bounces back, really.
Yeah, and right now, it's crazy to say given the history there, but so many of their top guys look like those playoff performers. Like Marner and Nylander have been putting up points and goals in like every game that I've watched. Matthew Nyes is just ice in his veins. Like honestly, the guy who looks in that top 6 who has the least amount of poise, it looks like Austin Matthews.
I was just about to say Matthews has struggled the most out of their.
He's missing the net a lot for being an absolute sniper like he is. But even then, that it's only the offensive side of his game, because he's still playing great defense.
Mm-hmm. And eventually he's going to get the offense going, and when he does, that just makes them that much more dangerous of a team.
Yeah.
And if you're Florida, I mean, if you're hoping Bobrovsky gets better, he's looked a little bit shaky through these first 2 games. They did, he did win 4 out of 5 in the first round, but I also didn't think he looked that great. I thought he had moments, but it wasn't like I was like, man, I like last year, it's like I don't want to run into Bobrovsky because he's just on a tear. Like we're not really seeing that this year. So if Florida wants any chance in this, Bobrovsky's going to have to figure it out here. And I guess the team defense in front as well, because Bobrovsky is kind of getting put in some tough spots. But if you're a top goalie in the world, you got to bail your team out a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very interested to see what this team does in the offseason because they truly are madmen for not they really don't seem to have any kind of plan going into the offseason for Tavares or Marner. But like the way it's looking, like I'm not saying blank check, but man, Mitch Marner has been really good for them this year, regular season and otherwise.
The tough thing with Toronto, right, is in most cases it's like you you worry about your UFAs first. You can qualify your RFAs and then you can figure that out. The problem is you got to figure out a deal for John Tavares. What does that look like? Who knows, honestly. A lot of people say, "Oh, he'll sign for 1 mil for 3 years and win a like, no. Players still want to get paid. Um so for what a Tavares deal looks like, I don't know. If I had to throw out a
38
guess,
goals, 74 points this year in 75 games. Like
yeah, like if I had to throw out a guess,
great
three,
leader. 58% face-offs.
yeah, his faceoffs has
One
become
of
a
the
lot better the last
one of
couple
the
of years.
best in the league by the looks of those numbers.
So for Tavares, say a 8.5 mil 3 years, something like that. Marner, who knows with that because of all the new deals, what does he feel he's worth and all that. The issue is you have to have Matthew Nye signed by July 1st. You've got all three of the like basically you got to treat Matthew Nyes as a UFA because if you go to July 1st and you don't have him signed, someone is going to offer sheet him, especially after seeing what St. Louis did and how incredible that worked out for them offer sheeting and the way Matthew Nyes is playing. A team's going to offer sheet him,
Yeah,
and to the
those
Toronto
two
fans,
offer sheets
they
effectively retooled that entire squad. Like those were
yeah
so good for them. And what did it cost? A second and a third rounder? Holy
yeah
shit. I would give up 4 second rounders for those two guys.
yeah
Like
the way they looked, yeah. And to the Toronto fans that say, "Oh, Matthew Nyes would never sign anywhere. He would just decline and wait for Toronto." No, he wouldn't. If a team comes out to him and says, "Hey, 10 mil, 8 years," he's signing that. That's that's how it works. So,
yeah,
yeah, they
easy.
Toronto's got some situations to figure out between Tavares, Marner, Nyes. Is it realistic you can get all three signed? No. Is it possible? I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be easy, but
You're just going to have to make some tough calls elsewhere in your lineup. Where would that be? I don't even know. But
yeah,
it's possible. The doors is open for that to be a reality for Toronto.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. John Tavares, whatever, if he does sign, it will be for less than what he is making.
yeah,
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if whatever he's making less is the exact amount of money of a raise that goes into Marner,
to Marner.
pretty
Yeah.
much. You know,
I think the only way, and I'm not saying for sure, but I think the only way you can keep all three is you probably just have to do a bridge deal for Nyes
yeah. Which,
because I don't think you're able to get him locked in on a long term deal and pay him given your situation. So you'd probably have to do a bridge deal and then
what do
figure
you
out
think's
down
the
the road how
lowest
you
they
pay
could
him.
get him to sign for on a long term deal? If they were like 8 years, like, do you think he goes for eight by nine? Does
I
it
was gonna
take nine
say
and a half?
8.5. I think is the bare minimum, like the bottom line,
Yeah.
but it's probably more than that if it's an 8 year deal. So yeah, 9.5. I could see potentially for an 8 year deal. If he keeps dominating in the playoffs and they go on a run, the amount they're gonna have to pay him just is gonna keep going up though.
Yeah.
So that is part of it, right? The better Marner keeps doing the playoffs, Nyes, like that just keeps increasing how much you're gonna have to pay them. Because you could say, oh, Matthews and Nylander do better than Marner in the regular season. But if Marner's the one that carries the team in the playoffs, you're gonna have to pay him.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
just the way the league works.
obviously, recency bias is massive with this, but like looking at all their top contracts, Matthews is the one that looks the worst at 13.25. Like, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
is the worst contract. You've got the best goal scorer in the world on your team, but that's a lot of money, and he's looking like the squeaky wheel in round 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Again, playing good defense, still producing a bit. Like, he's just not 13.25 right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But for
I
the
think
sake of
there's
time.
a good path forward for them. It'll take some tricky
Mhm.
stuff, but I think they could definitely get it done. They've got a couple
Yeah,
of
I
guys that they
think it's
could move
possible.
out that I'm trying to find some of the details on their clauses. Some guys like, fuck. If it means keeping those 3 guys and you have to move David Camp for the rest of his contract, like he's got a 10-team no trade list, okay, fine. So some of
There's
the
other
teams
teams you
taken out,
can
you can
move.
find someone
Yeah. Yeah,
like
there's options for them. But for the sake of time, we should move on to the next series. Let's just stick in the East. Washington, Carolina. Carolina is up 1-0 currently in the series after taking game 1 in overtime. 2-1 off a goal by Jacob Slavin. Um, not
they
a whole
play
lot going on
they
this
play
series
like
so far.
a basketball team. I saw
Yeah.
somebody make that comparison and I can't not see it now. They just the Hurricanes, and it's not really a knock on them. It's just I don't know the last time I saw a team play like this. They just love getting it back to the defenseman and just shooting it all day long. Like they just love the perimeter shots. They're going for 3-pointers all the time.
And there are a lot of them are low danger chances. Like they rack up a
Yeah.
lot of shots in the game, and you'd think, oh, Carolina dominate, but it's like none of them were real high danger chances, even,
Yeah.
medium danger.
Yeah.
What's lower than low danger? That's what
The
majority of these
overtime
shots
winner.
are. Yeah,
Like that it was a weird not even over the pad, just like very gently off the ice wrist shot from right beside the blue line in the corner, and it just kind of didn't get tipped. Just the puck had eyes for the back of the net. Like
mhm.
that's, and I think their shooting volume like that is why a lot of uh places like Money Puck. If you ever go on Money Puck and look at who has the best odds to win the cup each year, almost every year the best odds are for the Hurricanes. If not, they're definitely top 2 or 3. Like for the last 5 years in a row now, because
Mhm.
the whatever model they use just like loves shot volume and the way that they play.
Yeah.
But like I
I
mean,
mean, yeah,
they're up one
that is
nothing. They
exactly the
won
way
in
they play.
5. Like it works.
Yeah, it's working well for them so far. I thought, well, first of all, Freddie Anderson back for Carolina is obviously a huge point for them. Like, getting your starting goalie back and healthy is one of the most important things you can ask for if you're them. And if you're Washington, I mean, Logan Thompson got injured in the regular season, but got kind of shaken up in the first round. But I thought he looked great for Washington. I really thought both teams looked really good, and it's indicative of the score, like a 2-1 overtime game
It felt like a
where,
2-1 game.
yeah,
Yeah. Both goalies
and
looked
Alexis
great.
Protas got on the board. First goal for this playoff run with Washington. So having him back as well is big for them. Just a big body, had a great breakout year, and hopefully for Washington, he can keep translating that. As the playoffs go on more for them,
Yeah.
just keep plugging away.
This series really, or this game rather, really felt like when a lot of those guys on like the panels will say like, I think we're in for a slower game 1. I think there's going to be the feeling out process, a lot of that stuff. I feel like a lot of the time we don't see that. I feel like we really
Yeah,
did here. It really did feel like
yeah.
they
You look at
weren't,
every other
neither team
series,
was
they just
going
jump
all out
in.
on offense yet. It
Hmm.
was physical, but not heavy, not a huge amount of conviction in every hit, but they were kind of gauging how it would go, and I think they
Yeah,
both got their answer. I think it'll be a fun series.
yeah. I think so. I'm looking a lot more forward to this one as opposed to either of these teams' first round matchups. No disrespect to New Jersey or Montreal,
Yeah,
but in my opinion, didn't really feel like major threats to these teams. Whereas these two teams, I mean, whichever team comes out on top has a very good chance of not only going to the cup final, but potentially winning the cup based on the way that the structure of the team is, the way they're playing. So I'm looking forward to game 2 tonight and seeing the response from Washington, because, unlike Florida, if you go down 2-0, you're now going on the road down 2-0. Whereas at least for Florida, you are getting to go home at least. So game 2 is a very big game for Washington, and it's tough to see Carolina not moving on if they get a 2-0 series lead. I have a very hard time seeing them drop 4 out of 5.
Yeah. It's so tough. Like if you lose 2 games at home, it's insanely difficult to come back from. Like it almost feels like you're better off if you lose the first 2 games that are away games than going 1-1 at home. Like, depending on how your team plays at home, like, I feel like they almost have similar vibes, despite obviously one of them being a tied series and one being 2-0. But
I just had to think about that for a sec. But yeah, no, you make a good point that kind of, it makes sense.
But
do you have anything else
keep up
on
on
these
that.
two?
Not really. I'll probably be watching that game tonight. I did not catch the first game other than the overtime, so
yeah,
I didn't see.
Fair enough.
I didn't see as much of it.
We're only one game in, and again, not the flashiest of games, not as much to talk about. Just again, at the end of the day, 2 very solid teams that are very evenly matched, and at the end of the day, I don't think it matters to me as much who wins. Like, I know I'm always like, oh, just Washington going all the way, OV storybook season, whatnot. That'd be cool. More than anything, I would love to see these teams just battle it out and go the distance, go to 7. I feel like
That's a great
7
point.
between these teams and how evenly matched they are would just be great for the sport in itself. So that's what I'm rooting for. And again,
And they're kind of 2 of the most unique teams left. As far as the playoffs go, like you look at the West, and I mean, not to say they're the other teams are less fun, right? But we know exactly what we're getting from Dallas, from the Jets, from the Golden Knights, from Edmonton, especially. Like they play some good defense here and there, especially some of the teams more like Dallas, but a lot of just incredibly skilled forwards and super fast gameplay. You get quite a bit of that from Toronto as well, from Florida. Like these 2 teams they feel more defensively focused than any of the other teams left, but they also feel, especially in the Capitals case, a lot heavier than a lot of the teams that are left. And obviously with the focus on perimeter shots and everything to the net, with Carolina, like it just makes their game so unpredictable. They could sweep you could sweep them. Like it just makes for like a kind of bizarre game. I know there was a regular season game, I want to say 2 seasons ago. It was, obviously I watched it, so it was Tampa versus the Hurricanes, and they beat us. I think it was 3-2. One of the most bizarre games I've ever watched, because all 3 of their goals they scored while their guy was standing behind the goal line, and they were all 3 almost the same shot. They didn't bounce any of them off the goalie. They're standing behind the goal line. Their stick is in front with the puck, and they just like roofed it. And they just like had 3 separate guys do this same bizarre shot 3 times, and it was like, like, who did the coach tell him to do that? What the fuck? Like that's
the thing with Carolina though. Good around the net, you keep them to the outside. They're not that dangerous, but you let them get on the inside lanes and get close to the net and get loose around there. More often than not, they're gonna make you pay, whether it's anywhere around the net. They're, I would say, one of, if not the most dangerous teams when they're just circling around the net.
Yeah. Also, Sebastian Aho, like low key one of the better playoff performers
around recent years. Yeah, I would say he's looked very good last couple years for the Canes for sure.
Like he's primarily a bit of a playmaker, but he does a lot of goal scoring in the playoffs for him.
But let's move on over to the West. Let's move over to Edmonton and Vegas. Edmonton currently up in that series 1-0 as they are currently on a 5-game win streak in the playoffs.
Were all 5 games comebacks as well?
Yes, but I
Comeback wins?
hate that narrative that people are pushing because one of the games they won, they were down 2-1 like in the first. So it technically is a comeback win, but
That's
when I
still a
think a
comeback win.
comeback win, it's more of like, multi-goal deficit or you're down going into the third or something, not like if you think of it, if
Yeah,
a
like
team goes
obviously the
out and
Jets comeback was way bigger than it was 2-1 in the first.
yeah. But like if
But
you put it that way and you word it that way, then it's basically if I can't even think of a game. I know there was one off the top of my head, but like a team goes out and scores to start the game, like use Dallas for example. Um 9 seconds into the game, they scored. And then if they end up losing, it's like, oh, comeback win. It's like, eh.
yeah,
Again,
that's why
technically
it is a
comeback win, but it's just weird, in that sense. That's just never the way that I view it.
yeah.
But um
Yeah.
in
Not
terms
all
of the
comeback
writers,
wins are
they feel
equal,
very different. Yeah.
but doing it 5 games in a row is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
I believe I don't think it's happened in the playoffs before. I think I saw they're the first team to have 5 of those. That not only do you have to win 5 games in a row for that, that does also mean you have to give up, either the first goal or you have to be losing at some point to win those games. Like so,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I
it's
thought
good that they're winning,
Edmonton.
but it does also mean they're giving the other team a lot of leads.
Yeah. I thought Edmonton looked well. I thought both teams looked very good in game one. Obviously, a little bit tough for Vegas finding out, just a little bit before the game that Alex Pietrangelo wasn't going to be playing due to illness. That obviously hurts their blue line. Um, Edmonton won this game 4-2. Um, they were down 2-0. Mark Stone is starting to heat up, got the ball rolling for Vegas,
It
and
could have
then
been
three goals in the
3 or
third.
4 in the first period for Vegas.
Yeah,
Vegas dominated them in the first. It really felt like.
yeah, and then Edmonton took it to them in the third. And when I say took it to them, in terms of goals, shots were 6-6. It was really the second period where Edmonton outshot Vegas 12-1.
Oof.
Edmonton's getting scoring from everywhere. I mean, Corey Perry gets one. Draisaitl as usual. Zach Hyman with a great shot, and then Connor Brown with a great steal and drive to the net to ice the game there.
Was it uh was it Connor Brown or was it uh one of the other goals that the guy just like walks out of the zone and just absolutely dog walked? I think it was Shea Theodore. Like
That
just
was the Connor
absolutely
Brown goal.
he just
Yeah, that was the
absolutely
last goal.
loses him and he just walks in and beats the goalie. It was like, wow.
Yeah, Vegas is again, it's Vegas. They're still a very good team. They could easily go out and win 5-1, 6-1. They could even shut out Edmonton tonight. But it's one of those ones again, like we talked about. If you lose this one, you're done.
Losing 2 at home.
If you're
Now you're going to
Washington, you go
McDavid's
down.
barn. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're Washington, you go down 2-0 and you're going on the road, you can still come back. If you're Winnipeg, you go down 2-0 and you're going on the road. Yeah, you might be cooked. 'Cause it's Dallas, but you realistically you still could come back.
Well,
If you go
especially
down
with
2-0
how
to Edmonton,
Hellebuck's played
and
away from home.
yeah,
Yikes.
you
That would
go
be a
down to
bad situation.
McDavid and Draisaitl, you're going back to Edmonton. You're in a very tough spot.
Yeah.
So if you're Vegas, you got to bear down. You got to be able to hold on to a lead. You need all your guys rolling. Mark Stone gets your 2 goals, but you're going to need scoring from elsewhere because Edmonton again is really starting to get goal scoring from everywhere in their lineup over the last little bit. So Vegas
And
has to match
yeah.
that. They're capable of it. Will they do it? Well, I guess we'll find out tonight when Game 2 takes place in Vegas. I don't have too much more to really say on this. I do think
No.
both teams are very well built, very even. Kind Calvin
Yeah.
Pickard is
The
not
Oilers
hurt in
getting
Edmonton yet.
yeah, he's been playing like not great, but I mean, he's got 5 wins in a
Service.
row.
Like
Like
he's
he's got
getting you
5
wins
wins
at
in a
the end of
row.
the day.
He's not dragging the team down. Uh
And that's the
an
biggest thing. It's
Oilers
not like
team
he's winning the games for the Oilers, but he's doing the opposite of Stuart Skinner and not costing them games.
exactly.
And
And that's
if you're Edmonton with the star
that's his
power
job.
and the goal scoring, that's all you need a goalie to do right now, really.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're getting depth scoring, like
Mhm.
Draisaitl and McDavid are just gonna put up 2 point per game in their sleep, apparently. So the fact that they can be doing that, and then you got guys like Connor Brown going out there and getting these timely goals, like yeah, and it doesn't have to be him every night. As long as somebody picks up 1 or 2 throughout the game, the top guys will convert, and they're just going to keep winning if they can keep it
Mhm.
up. And then we got the final series. Is just the last one here?
Oh,
Uh,
one final thing I'll actually just say on this Edmonton one,
go for it.
that I think is just so dumb. And I get the thought process, but when you look at it, it's just like, why? And it's not all Oilers fans, but some of them on Twitter that are bashing Holloway and Broberg specifically. Some were throwing Fogle in there, but it was mostly about Broberg and Holloway being like, "Oh, you're out round one. Bet you wish you were still with us and going for the cup." It's like, I bet they're both totally happy where they're at right now. I bet
Yeah,
Holloway's happy. Hey, I'm a point per game guy. I'm gonna get paid. I'm playing in the top six as opposed to I'm a fourth line penalty killer. And Broberg being a top pair defenseman lighting the league up instead of being a bottom pair guy trying to help out Nurse or whoever, right? Like,
yeah. Like no, they're
you can be mad you lost the guys, but don't bash them because they did what was best for their career. They
yeah.
saw the writing on the wall and knew there was no growing in Edmonton. There was nowhere to go up. You
They were offered money
either
by another team, and
yeah,
Edmonton had the option to give them that same amount of money to keep them. And I bet either of them would have stayed if given the same contract.
yeah.
But
Well, they would have had to have. Edmonton had their rights, and Edmonton said, "Go, go, be free,
yeah,
butterflies," and
no,
watched them turn
Edmonton
into
failed them
monsters.
much more than anything. Like
Yeah,
they neither of them
I'm
are on
glad you agree with
expensive
me on
enough
that.
contracts that they should have left. Like I get it, they have a cap situation, everything, but uh, things can always be moved around, and they don't have
Yeah,
enough guys making enough money that they should not have been able to keep them. Like there
yeah.
was a lot of
If they
signs
wanted them,
that guys
they
like
would have
Holloway
found a way.
would have been great last season. Like
Yeah.
St. Louis knew that, and they offered him. I still can't believe that neither of them got matched by Edmonton. I thought for sure one of them
Holloway would have
was
because
right.
Holloway's was much cheaper than Broberg's. But again,
Yeah,
if Edmonton really wanted both of them, they would have found a way to make it work. Hell, you gave all that money to Jeff Skinner, who is still sitting in the press box after only one playoff game.
brutal.
Maybe he'll play some point in this series. Wonder if he gets the chance to come
I
back
kind
in.
of thought he came back and played a game or two.
I don't I don't believe so. No, I think he's still just been out because Edmonton's just been on a roll. And again, if you're on a roll like this, why change anything up? Stick with what works. But with that, yes, we can move on to the final series in the second round. The other one over in the West, Winnipeg Jets, Dallas Stars. Dallas did take game one last night, 3-2. Surely someone didn't get a hat trick again for Dallas, right?
Oh, but they did. Like my God,
Insane,
Mikko Rantanen is just
incredible.
on another level right now. I've got up his last 5 game stats here. So 5 games ago, didn't have a great game. 4-0 loss against Colorado. He was a -1. They had 0 goals. Obviously, he had 0 points. So now we're at the next 4 games will be game 5, 6, and 7 of that series, and then game 1 against Winnipeg. A goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Don't worry, that's his worst performance. 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points in game 6. 3 goals and an assist for 4 points and a hat trick in a Game 7 win. I factored on all 4 of their goals for that one. And then in Game 1 in Winnipeg, 3 goals for all 3 of the goals his team scored in a 3-2 win. He single-handedly won them their last 2 games.
Yeah. Six goals in his last from the time he scored his first one in Game 7 to the time he scored his hat trick one in Game 1 against Winnipeg. 14 minutes and 53 seconds of ice time. He scored 6 goals. We talked about Rantanen and being the first player to score a hat trick in a Game 7 in the third period. Rantanen also finds his way into the history books twice after last night's game, becoming only the third player in NHL history to have back-to-back hat tricks in the playoffs, joining Yari Curry in 1985 and Doug Bentley in 1944. And Mikko Rantanen has factored in on each of the Dallas Stars' last 12 goals, which marks the longest streak in Stanley Cup playoff history. He was tied with Mario Lemieux at 9, and he puts up a hat trick to get to 12. He holds the record by 3 now, and counting.
That's man, he's been
grow.
So good out there. That's just crazy.
It's fair to say he's put the narrative to bed now that he was a McKinnon merchant, right? We can finally put that to bed and be
100%.
He's his own. And I was always on that camp that Rantanen was his own player. He proved it when McKinnon wasn't in the lineup, when they were on separate lines and didn't play together at all throughout a game and whatnot, aside from power play, obviously.
It was one of those cases of we just don't know quite how good he is on his own, because no matter who you are, McDavid would be made better playing with guys like McKinnon and Makar. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be good on his own. It's just, what would the production be like on his own? And Rantanen, not only can he keep up his production, he looks like one of those guys that might be better off being the best player on his line. He's one of those guys that, you go out and get the best free agent and add it to his line. It's not going to affect him as much as it would other guys. He wants to be head honcho,
People might think that,
kind of like crazy, Burns and Carlson, right? They both want to be that guy.
Yeah, when you think about it, right, if you're a guy with, what did we say Rantanen was when we did our rankings? I think we had him 9 or 8 or something. So when you think of it that way, if whatever you want to rank him, top 10 player in the league right now, I don't think anyone can dispute that. You're probably better off of being the guy generating the offense and kind of calling the plays and being in control, as opposed to, being the pawn out there that's go to this spot and we'll find you. We'll make the magic happen and you just finish the job and whatnot. He's getting to control the play now and drive the offense, and he's kind of thriving, and it took him a little bit to get going, but again, weird season for him, injuries, foreign nations, just kind of a weird circumstances all around, but it looks like he's finally settled in and looking good.
He's looking really good. Yeah. And I just checked. Yeah, we had him 9th in the league.
It was 9th.
Yeah, right ahead of Panarin and right behind Pasternak.
And I think we even said during the time that actually no, we were pretty confident with that. And I think that so. Still is.
I think Panarin might be a little bit lower, but
might drop a bit. I don't. Yeah, right now, at the time of that, that was because I at the time you couldn't put him above Pasternak. Maybe now, but I probably still wouldn't. I mean, if Rantanen keeps doing this and keeps just dominating, then other things worth noting in Game 1. Mark Scheifele did return to action after missing 2 games for Winnipeg. No Josh Morrissey yet. Still unsure of when his return is. And for the Dallas Stars, they did get Jason Robertson back from injury. Did only play 13 minutes and 44 seconds, so they're kind of slowly just ramping him up and getting him into action. No Heiskanen yet. They do expect him back at some point in this series, but they also kind of did say that in round 1, and that didn't happen. So not going to look too much into that, but
If
Heiskanen
they
could
don't
return
need
at any
him,
moment.
yeah, I don't think until they lose a game, I don't think there's a reason to put Heiskanen in. If the injury is as serious as it sounds, like
I'm in between.
you just
I'm torn.
won game 1. This team is not. I sure hope we get to the third round. It's cup or bust.
It
So
has to be.
they got a plan for the rest of the run. If they're up 1-0, hell, if they win the next game, it's 2-0. Why would you play Heiskanen? Like,
So
only after you lose a game or the series is tied or something should they start playing him, I think.
I half agree and I half disagree. The first part of it is if they do beat Winnipeg and go to the Western Finals, you are going up against either Vegas or Edmonton. Those are the two teams that eliminated you the past 2 years in the Western Final. 2 years ago, Vegas knocked you out. Vegas went on to win the Cup. And last year, Edmonton beat you, and Edmonton went on to lose to Florida. You did beat
Yeah.
Vegas last in the first round, which is kind of nice. The thing is Dallas's decor is not phenomenal. You've got good pieces, yes. But when you look at it, yeah, it would be nice to give Heiskanen some more rest if you don't need to play him, like you said, kind of, planning for, long-term game. But at the same time, you can't keep rolling every night and having Lindell. He played 27 minutes and 52 seconds, and it's not even an overtime game. Thomas Harley played 25 minutes and 7 seconds. And then you've got Leon Bichelle, who I think has looked very awesome in the playoffs. Big boy, big body. He played only 10 minutes and 26 seconds, and Petrovic 12 minutes and 11 seconds. And then you also had Cody Ceci, who played 24-33. So you're really putting a lot on these other defensemen to log a lot of ice time game after game after game. And eventually, especially after a 7-game series, it's going to catch up to them. So adding Heiskanen in takes some of that weight off them. And you don't have to have those guys play a shit ton of minutes every night. So kind of two sides to it. So I see the value to both of them.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is if Heiskanen's not healthy, don't play him. If he's healthy, then you put him in. You don't rest him and just let him sit there while he's healthy. If he's fully healthy and ready to play, you put him in the lineup.
Yeah, if he's fully healthy, absolutely. But if he's in a spot where regular season would have him day to day, or I mean, it's the playoffs, they're crazy, maybe even week to week, but he can play, then I don't think you need to until it feels like you're in a more dangerous spot. Them winning this first game puts him in a nice spot to be able to manage whenever he hits the ice next.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's huge for Dallas that they were able to win this first game, especially on the road in Winnipeg, where we know how loud it can get. Again, my biggest concern with Dallas is just your defenseman, and the last thing you need is for Heiskanen to come back, but then Harley goes down, or Lindell, because they've just been logging so much ice time and just getting beat up out there. So something to keep an eye on with Dallas, but again, it's not the biggest issue for them right now. They're rolling right now, and Robertson's slowly getting ramped up to probably log in 20 minutes a night again.
Yeah.
What do you think of Winnipeg?
I mean, they played well. They just kind of, it's one of those games, they played well. They just got beaten in a playoff game.
I think that's exactly it. I think if you're Winnipeg, it was a close game. You did it without Morrissey. Hellebuck, I don't think hurt you. His stats don't look great, but again, it's one of those ones where you lost, but I don't put it on Hellebuck. I'm kind of looking at Rantanen from Mikko Rantanen, the same way I look at McDavid. It's like he put up a hat trick on you. I mean, fuck, what?
Yeah, the third goal even was everyone in the arena was watching the pass go cross crease because it was a pass, not a shot, and it goes off the defenseman's either skate or stick, and then just went in short side when it looked like it was going far side for the pass.
Yeah.
So the goalie just wasn't ready for it to be there. Like you'd have to be a really insane goalie to be able to foresee that or react in time to save that.
Think Dallas to start the game. I think they were up 10-1 in shots at one point to start the game.
Probably don't want to see that again.
Let me just double check here. Who got the first few shots? Okay, yeah. So it was Dallas. Winnipeg ended up out shooting in this game 31-24 and ended up actually out shooting Dallas 13-12 in the first period. So a little bit of a rough start for Winnipeg, but they bounced back actually really well in this game, I thought. So, Dallas was able to pull out a close one, but if you're Winnipeg, I'm not worrying yet. You can easily win game 2. Yeah, I think it's a must-win game 2, and
definitely
just get off to a bit of a stronger start and just find a way to shut down Rantanen right now. That should be your biggest worry.
Yeah, in a team this deep, the last thing, like when you're facing a team like Dallas, they're so deep. The last thing you want is for one of their guys to get this hot. Now you have to have somebody like key onto him like he's, a Hart Trophy level guy. And then what? If you got double coverage on him, now what? Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, one of those guys open? Like it puts him in a weird position to try and slow him down while not giving it away to everyone else out there.
How much fun do you think Rantanen's having playing with Rupe Hintz and Mikael Granlund, 2 other Finnish players?
I got to imagine he's
just
having a
blast. Yeah, I imagine he's just having a blast playing with those guys right now.
I imagine he misses playing in Colorado a bit. I imagine much more than that. He's so happy he didn't stay in Carolina. The coaching scheme, the way they play, the whole perimeter thing, like we were talking about, it just wasn't quite a fit for him. I think he would have done fine there still, but
I
don't think he's putting up back-to-back playoff hat tricks.
Yeah, no,
on that team.
You got to be feeding the puck to McKinnon and Makar as well when you're out there. You got to spread it out, whereas guys are looking to you to carry the load for them. I don't really got much more to say on this again. Both teams look good. If I'm Winnipeg, I'm not worried yet.
Yeah,
but you gotta win. You gotta win at least one out.
You know what? Honestly, if I'm Winnipeg, I'm a little worried.
Little bit.
Being down one game, I wouldn't be, but to this Dallas team, they're a scary team.
I'm more worried if I'm Vegas or Washington, though.
That's fair.
I'm more worried if I'm those two teams as opposed to Winnipeg, right? As of right now, like if they go down 2-0, very
more worried than
as
Florida
of right now.
More worried than Florida.
At least for Florida, they're going back home,
right?
But it's Washington,
and obviously defending
Winnipeg,
champs.
and Vegas that all lost game 1 at home.
Yeah.
So, just looking at those teams that have already lost one at home and are preparing to go on the road soon.
Yeah. Which of these teams out of these matchups do you think is the most likely to come back and win their series?
Florida.
The only team that's down 0-2, you think is most likely? I mean,
because again, we've seen Florida in these spots before.
They're going home. It's against Toronto, ex-Cup champions. You're seeing some Leafs fans being optimistic. They want to win. I'm not seeing very many of them going, "Oh yeah, we've got this in the bag." Like none of that. I'm not seeing any of that around. Like
Toronto winning game 1, I think it was game 1, means that, and especially now with game 2, means this is going to be the longest playoff run that they've had since, in the core 4 era with Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Nylander.
At least the last 2 decades.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think out of the teams that are down right now, I would say the team I'm most confident that could come back would be Florida, just because again of where they're at. I would
probably say Washington for me. I think it's one game. I think they,
as long as Washington wins,
like it was it was such a close game with Carolina. I think that one's still good. Losing game 1 to McDavid. This Stars team is just filthy. Like I feel bad for the Jets. Like they're a fun team. They're
Yeah.
great, but Dallas is a wagon, man.
And St. Louis beat Winnipeg up pretty good. That's not getting talked about enough of how
Yeah.
much that physicality really took a toll on Winnipeg too, especially 7 games.
Yeah.
But to wrap this episode up, all we got left is the NHL awards, the individual awards. We know the finalists for all of them. We can now officially go through each of these awards, say who the 3 finalists are, and we can give our prediction on who we think will be the winners. So, Braden, which award do you want to start with?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if I want to cherry pick one here or if we just want to go down the list in order we have it.
Just pick anywhere. Just start anywhere. We can.
Yeah, we don't want we don't want to end with it and it's at the bottom of the list. So let's start behind the bench. Let's go with the Jack Adams.
Jack Adams, the finalist for this. Jack Adams is Coach of the Year. Scott Arniel of the Winnipeg Jets, Spencer Carberry of the Washington Capitals, and Martin St. Louis of the Montreal Canadiens. For me, I said it months ago. I'm sticking with it. It's Spencer Carberry for me.
I think I agree. Probably. Doesn't feel wrong when you say it, so I'm inclined to agree. Scott Arniel did a great job with Winnipeg this year. It's so weird because it's this weird award where it's like it's not really the best coach of the year. It's the team that overachieved the most, unless a team just did really good, like President's Trophy level, like the Jets. But I am still going to go with Washington and Spencer Carberry because we both had them not even sniffing the playoffs in
Most
our
people had them
preseason ranking
in the Metro.
I think we both had them 7th, and
yeah.
Did they end up
It's
second in the league this year? Like,
yeah, top of the East. Yeah,
fuck.
like it's no disrespect to what Scott Arniel did with Winnipeg or Martin St. Louis with Montreal. It's the fact that I had Washington like around the same level as Montreal this year, and Washington
I didn't even
ended
have
up
that
being
high.
the top team in the East.
Yeah, like just unreal. Who was it? Jim Montgomery that went to St. Louis?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with any of these 3 picks being on here, but it's one of those cases where it does suck for the 4th guy because I feel like there's a good chance that was Jim Montgomery because showing up in St. Louis and just like a light, just that team turned around. They looked great in the playoffs. I mean, this is a regular season award, but I mean, they made the playoffs when it felt like they had no business being close for a long time. So I think he deserves a bit of a shout out, but yeah, I think Spencer Carberry is the pick here.
Yeah.
Sheldon Keefe,
next award,
the overwhelming favorite before the season started. I think we both picked him for it. I know I definitely did. Like
I did. Yeah.
I think I might have thrown a couple bucks on it too. Like it felt like such a slam dunk at the start of the season. I was like, who else could it be? And like, surely this Devils team is going to be good. Look at that roster, but a couple key injuries and any team season can be done with a couple of those.
Yeah. It's kind of out of his hands at that point. Next trophy, Lady Byng going to the most gentlemanly player, most sportsmanlike. The finalists for this is Jack Eichel, Braden Point, and Anze Kopitar.
I was happy to see Point still got nominated. He had, I believe, 2 penalty minutes going into like the end of March. And then somebody laid a semi-dirty hit in one of the games on somebody else, and he went over and kind of pounded the stuffing out of him. And I wasn't sure. He takes about 5 or 7 or 9 penalty minutes like every season because he takes 1 or 2 minor penalties, and then he gets into a fight either every year or every second year. And sometimes he gets nominated for Lady Byng, and sometimes that fight is just enough to push him out. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with any of these guys being here. Kopitar has less penalty minutes than the other 2, I believe. He's won it, I think, 2 or 3 times. I got to imagine Kopitar is going to win it.
So Kopitar's your pick?
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to go with Jack Eichel. He does have the most penalty minutes out of him with 8, but he did put up 94 points this season, and that's part of what they look at with it of, your penalty minutes, but also your point totals. And I think with the season Jack Eichel had,
I could definitely see it.
again, really not much to go off of with this. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really know the full thought process, but
It's
I'll go
so
with Eichel.
weird
And
the way they try and talk about it, because I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but one of these recent years, the finalists were Kopitar, Point, and Jack Hughes. And Point had like 95 points. Jack Hughes had like 97. And then Kopitar had like 78. Like he had like 20 points less than both of them, and the other two were close.
Mhm.
And then they all had similar penalty minutes, and then Kopitar won.
Mhm.
And like, so like I have no idea. Like, like we were talking about the Jack Adams. We know that it's kind of the out of nowhere winning coach award, stuff like that. How the heart is like most valuable to the team, not necessarily the best overall, but
Mhm.
like I nobody, not enough people are talking about the Lady Bing for me to have any idea
Yeah,
what
really
what kind of thought
not a
goes into it.
not a huge clue on it.
I will
Um,
say, Eichel, I don't believe he was penalized on the play, but he was the one who laid the hit that injured Jack
oh,
Hughes.
oh,
And
no.
I have
Yeah.
no idea again if that's something that the voters even remember, if that they'd look at, but I saw some people talk about it online, so I felt like it's worth mentioning for the sportsmanlike award. It wasn't a
Yeah, fair
vicious
enough.
hit or anything, but accidents happen, but it's
Yeah,
there.
I think if it was just a hit, and yeah, I don't think that would matter too much. Like if it was something dirty, then yeah, but
I feel
just
like this is
plain
one of those
good
awards where
hard nosed
you
hockey, that's
you
fine.
just kind of split hairs until you make your vote. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think anyone
Pretty
feels
much.
snubbed if they don't win it. Like, it's yeah.
Which
But
awards would you like to move on to
let's
next year?
you know what? I don't have a problem just going in reverse order that we have here. Just keep going up.
All right.
We can
Yeah.
talk about the Masterton next. The Masterton Trophy is for the player who shows the most perseverance in the face of adversity and the most dedication to the sport of hockey. That is all. There's 32 nominees for this, right? And now we've just know the 3 finalists, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. Every team gets to nominate one.
Yeah. And so this year it's Marc-Andre Fleury, bit of a lifetime achievement here. Just everyone loves Flower, second all time in wins, like just great
Yeah.
career. Landeskog, who a lot of people were really confused why he got nominated, because I guess even though it's the Masterton, it's not quite an on ice thing. Technically, it is a regular season award, apparently. So people were like, Landeskog didn't come back in the regular season, so why is he up for it? So like I can see that. It's something that it's not, it's not the same way the Selkie is a regular season award, right?
Mhm.
Like it's much more vibes based than that. But I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of people saying they hope they don't give it to Landeskog and Landeskog gets nominated for it next year, in which case he would probably win it.
Which
Um,
I'm in that camp personally.
I agree, because
Um,
the third nominee, Sean Monahan for the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think he has to win it. It would
without
just
a doubt, I think
it
he
would
should.
just feel wrong if he didn't. Like,
I kind of agree, honestly. Like if Landeskog wins, it's like yeah, cool. But again, it's regular season. His comeback story has been incredible. He did not play a game in the regular season.
and you know
That's
what?
it's not against him. That's literally just a straight up cold, hard fact.
I
Monahan played a lot of this season, despite everything that went on, and not only that, played really good actually.
Yeah, I just for the sake of it, because I do think it's little column A, little column B, and everyone agrees, so nobody's arguing it. Um, do you think we would even be talking about that? Do you think we'd care? Like, would nobody's ever called the Masterton Trophy a regular season award? Nobody's done that till this year. It's because we all want Monahan to win because of what happened with Johnny Gaudreau, right?
I've always called it a regular season award.
Like, it's just always been a trophy to me. It's never been regular season playoff. It's just kind of been a yearly award to me. Because it's not a counting stat. It's not a best player for this. It's
always gone to a player who did play, though. We're never talking about a player that didn't play the whole year. So I think that's why this conversation is happening this year, is because we've never really been in a situation where it's been, you've got two guys, but then you've got a third who didn't play. It's all guys that have come back from something or dealt with something and returned to play after the fact type of thing. So I think that's kind of why the conversation is happening this year, is because we just haven't really had this happen before. And
I kind of think it's more just people want Monahan to win, and it's a genuine if it's a regular season award, then that means Landeskog could also go up for it next year, and it's kind of an everybody wins. Like, I just do wonder, if that hadn't happened with Gaudreau and Monahan wasn't up here, and I don't know who the third other guy would be in this situation, but some other name goes up there. I feel like majority of people would be saying, "Oh yeah, Landeskog easy," and nobody would be talking about that. And quite honestly, I like that. I like that everyone can get together and be like, "This is the way it should go," because, God damn it, it just feels better that way.
It would depend. I think for me, it would depend on who the third would be.
Yeah, but say it's a third man in, it's not more, it's not something insane. Which it often is.
Again, the thing is it would just have to come down to who the third guy'd be and why they were nominated and whatnot.
Say they come in third. Say it's between Fleury and Landeskog.
Okay, well then Landeskog. But again, you're dismissing the third guy. Exactly. It would depend on who the third is.
Yeah,
because Fleury, I don't know. Fleury has no reason to be nominated.
So you're saying that Landeskog, even though it's a regular season award and he didn't play there, you would vote for him over. You'd give him a second place vote here. Yeah.
Just because I don't think Fleury should be in this. No disrespect to Fleury, but I just don't like. Dakota Joshua came back from, what was it? He had
testicular cancer, I think.
Yeah. Like, how the fuck is he not there over Fleury?
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't Monahan this year, Dakota Joshua would probably be the third, and then that's who I would vote for.
And we've talked about it a lot on this podcast before. Whenever this comes up, neither of us are big fans of the Masterton Trophy in general. It's nice that they're trying to highlight these guys and stuff, but the way it goes about nominating and awarding it to somebody, the comparing of traumas, somebody's has a death in the family versus this guy who has cancer and all this stuff. It's like, well, how? And then you got Flower in there because everyone loves him and he has had a great career. Like, how do you split hairs there, man? It's just weird. Like, it's
so weird.
I genuinely hope Monahan wins it this year. They retire the trophy. If you really want something like this, the Johnny Gaudreau Memorial Trophy, I feel like that's right there. I feel like that's not innovative of me to say. And word it differently, make it a little different, and also have it be like 32 guys win it. Just like 32 guys, one from each team. 32. They're all nominated and they all get on the plaque or whatever. Or some better way than writers voting on, I think that guy had it worse, but I'm not him. Like, yeah,
because instead, like, just picture,
or have all the nominees vote on each other or something. Even even that, I don't know.
Envision it to be like, this is the way it should be done, instead of just having one guy go out and be like, oh, your trauma, your experience, what you powered through was voted more, incredible than the other guys, and then it's just one guy. How cool would it be if all 32 guys are in attendance? They all go up on the stage, you get a picture, and it's like, this is what hockey's about. This is the dedication that these players put into the game and overcome and perseverance and whatnot. That'd be so much cooler than just one guy getting a trophy and being like, oh, I guess outside people who don't know the full story and everything think that my experience was harder than yours. It'd just be cooler for all 32. And it's like, these are some of the toughest guys in the league for what they went through. Like, that would be.
And they could just make it like they could just so easily turn it into like an insane PR win as well, right? Like they could
Mhm.
be like every guy for each team that gets nominated, the NHL or hell, if the orgs want to do it just for the PR, like each of those guys gets $10,000 to go to a charity of their choice.
Yeah.
And you can and they could come out with a big check on screen. You can do a whole thing for it, and it'll just be a big feels good moment. Like it,
Mhm.
I feel like they could do something like that and make it better than what it currently is. But
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
we're
I'm
really
right there
doing
with you.
predictions on each one, I do think Monahan will win it this year. I
I
it
think so. I hope so, man. Like,
with Landeskog and Monahan in attendance, if Fleury went up there to grab the trophy,
oh, fuck.
it would feel Fleury wouldn't want to go up there. He would
No.
not want to go up there.
No. Moving on to the next award, we have the Selke Trophy that goes to the best, what do they properly word as? Like, the best defensive forward, the best kind
I
of two-way forward?
I
Like,
think the way they lay it out is like the best forward who excels at defensive aspects of the game.
okay, yes, okay. And the finalist for that is Alexander Barkov, Anthony Cirelli, and surprisingly, Barkov's teammate, Sam Reinhart.
I'm seeing a lot of people say they think Sam Reinhart's going to win this.
That's
Um,
my pick, is Sam Reinhart.
I just can't see it, man. Like, I, this guy plays on a line with Alexander Barkov. Like, I just can't see it not going to Barkov. Honestly, I love both of the other two nods for sure. It just the Selkie more than I think any other trophy in the NHL is kind of like we were saying with the coaches around the league earlier. They just love the same few guys. There is not a lot of turnover with this. Like if you have to be a dominant two-way player to break in and get the Selkie over a Kopitar, Bergeron, or Barkov. And
I had Barkov picked at the beginning there, but I'm hearing a lot more lately that a lot of traction around Sam Reinhart win it, so
I am. That's what I'm saying. Like
I'm going
I think
Reinhart.
he has a shot. I'm still
That's
going
my pick.
Barkov, but like I'm surprised I'm hearing so many people talk about Reinhardt just because they don't like going off of the same guys who win it. And I don't think either of these guys had one of those years where it was like they're clearly better than Barkov. It's almost like
Mhm.
calling a challenge on a goal, and it's like the only way you can overturn it is if you have definitive proof that it did or didn't go in. Like
Mhm.
there, if it's a tie, the tiebreaker goes to the guy who's won it before, and not to mention people around the league just adore Sasha Barkov, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't think
I'll go with
Reinhardt would
Reinhardt and hope
really
for a
be
Hail Mary and see
the
what
bad
happens.
pick, but
Mhm.
um, and yeah, I absolutely love Sorelli getting his flowers here. He plays so well defensively. Him and Hagel on the penalty kill. Like I believe I saw that Hagel was fourth, fourth in voting for this. I don't know if that was just rumors because like I don't think that like obviously the voting information is not out there yet. Otherwise, we'd
Yeah,
know
that
the
would just
winner.
be rumors, I think. We wouldn't know
We'll
until
break it
after
down
the
in the
award.
off season, but
Yeah. Once we actually see the full, like, voting totals when each award
yeah,
is given out, they'll always release that for us.
but if that's the case, that would be crazy if like you know, two guys on Florida who play on the same line and two guys on Tampa who also play on the same line are the top four. Like
Yeah,
that's
that would be
probably never happened.
pretty insane. That
Just
would
two separate lines have four Selkie level guys and then they met in the first round. Like but
Moving on to the next award, the Norris Trophy for the Defenseman of the Year. Our finalists are Quinn Hughes, Kale McCarr, and Zach Werenski. It's Kale McCarr.
I was gonna say
The
I
point
don't
totals he
foresee us
put up,
having a very long
the
conversation about this one.
30 goals. Werenski and Hughes both had great years, but McCarr really separated himself from the group, and I think solidified that he's going to win once he hit that
Yeah.
30 goal mark.
Werenski had a good pointless streak in mid to late March that really didn't help his case. He was still solidly the third guy, I think, in voting, but
Mhm.
or at least in top like solidly in the top three. Uh, I think Hughes could have beat McCarr for it. I actually kind of think he I'm leaning towards he would have if he played the whole season, but he missed 15 to 20 games, right? Like
Yeah.
it was quite a handful. So it when a defenseman's putting up 30 goals and that many points, you can't miss over a dozen games and expect to be able to beat him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But before he got injured, like he was in there for the Hart Trophy too.
Yeah.
Like,
And
and
also
they were
probably
close.
enough that
They were
Vancouver
close.
decided to blow shit up a bit.
They were close to the playoffs, man. If he plays all those games, I bet he wins a Norris. They make the playoffs. He might have won the Hart too.
Mm-hmm.
It was right there.
It was a
But
possibility at one point for sure.
yeah, but I 100% think it's going to Makar.
Yeah. Next trophy on the list we have the Vezina goaltender of the year. We have Connor Hellebuck, Darcy Kemper, and Andrei Vasilevsky. It's Hellebuck.
It much more of the same of the last one. Yeah, it's Hellebuck. I think
Back to back.
Vasilevsky is probably second, Kemper third.
Yeah, that's the way I would have it.
Uh, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it probably multiple times on the podcast at this point, but uh, Hellebuck and Vasilevsky both have like 60 or 70% more shots against in relatively similar games to Kemper. Like Kemper just plays on an LA team that like they just don't let a lot of shots through, or maybe Tampa and Winnipeg do in the regular season. But like, I'm pretty sure Vasi and Hellebuck were both in the top 5 for shots against in goalies, and then Kemper is like down there with guys who are like in tandems. Like
Mm-hmm.
they just don't let through a lot of shots. But I mean, he still put up insane numbers, and even in the playoffs was pretty good, all things considered. So
Yeah.
I like these top 3. I think they got the right guys. It sucks for a guy like Logan Thompson who, after the Ovechkin goal race was over, the team kind of chilled out and stopped helping him out as much. And if they didn't do that, maybe he would have ended up in this top 3. But and a guy like Philip
Yeah.
Gustafson as well. Injuries gutted his team and his numbers came down a bit, but I think he still put up like a 915 on the year.
Yeah.
But it's like I've seen some people say they don't know if Hellebuck's going to win it. Man, you can say that about like the Hart Trophy. Hellebuck's winning the Vezina. Come on.
Yeah.
Like come
Yeah.
on. It was
Next up
closer
we
than
have
we thought it would be by the end of the season.
Yeah.
But that's the most you can say.
Yeah. Next up we have the Calder Trophy going to the Rookie of the Year. We have Lane Hudson, Macklin Celebrini, and Dustin Wolf. We actually got a goalie in the Calder, which I was very happy. It sucked for Michkov,
Yeah.
but I was very happy to see the Wolf found his way.
Yeah. I definitely think he deserved to be that third person in. Yeah, sucks for Michkov to be number 4 when they only talk about the top 3, but at the same time, in a couple of years, they don't really talk about 2 and 3 either. They only talk about number 1. And
Mhm.
I definitely think that's going to Lane Hudson. I really like the seasons that the other 2 put up. I think Hudson, Celebrini, Wolf is your ordering there. But Hudson just put up so many points as a defenseman that I think he reached the point for points that they're not going to look at plus minus. They're not going to look at any defensive
Well,
metrics.
he
It's
pulled his
just
plus
the
minus
sheer
back up a
numbers.
bit at the end of the year. He went on a pretty good stretch to fix that. For me, as a San Jose fan, I'm going Dustin Wolf. I just think at the end of the day,
Is this your pick for who you want or who you think?
who I think I'm going Dustin Wolf.
Really? Okay.
I'm going
I
Dustin
love
Wolf.
it.
Um,
I
the
hope you're
the
right.
biggest thing is, first of all, the one thing I will say, and it's mostly Montreal fans because they want Lane Hudson to win. Is the narrative that for the Calder especially being like, oh, Hudson and Wolf are still playing meaningful games near the end of the season. Celebrini's not. That is not an argument at all for the Calder. At all, because then you're basically
No.
saying, "Oh, well, you're a rookie, went first overall to a bad team. You can't win the Calder because you're not making the playoffs." That's stupid. Like that
Yeah.
makes absolutely no sense. Because if
What
Hudson
do
and
you
Wolf
count as a
weren't, then what do you
meaningful
do?
game then? Like,
Yeah,
people aren't playing like they're trying to make the playoffs desperately in game 1 of the
yeah,
season. Are we going to start splitting hairs on back-to-backs with travel? Oh, well, we won't count his -3 and 0 points there because that game's a wash. It's a bad matchup. Like,
yeah,
we can't get into that. A hockey game is a hockey game. Regular season counts as the same.
yeah,
Playoffs count as the
exactly.
same as each other. Like,
The biggest reason I'm going with Wolf is I think a lot of voters are kind of giddy about a goalie being the conversation because I don't think we're going to see a goalie in this conversation for a while because again, you look at rookie goalies and
it's tough.
the only one I can maybe see on the horizon of a rookie goalie playing the amount Wolf does is Askarov in San Jose, and I still don't even think that's going to happen. I think it's a tandem thing. You very rarely see a rookie goalie take the reins and be the guy. And I think for voters, I think that's very exciting. His numbers are great. Like he's above the average as a rookie goalie on a Flames team that was. I mean, they were in the playoff race, but it was because of Wolf because it wasn't a terrific team. It was a mid team. No offense, Flames fans, but a mid team that Dustin Wolf basically said, "Well, you're not doing your rebuild because I'm a stud." And I think voters are very giddy about getting to actually talk about a goalie, not even just as a finalist, but just in the Calder conversation because that hasn't happened in forever.
Quite a while.
I'm going
Yeah.
with the giddy factor of having a goalie in there and
The Giddy Factor. Well, you know what? I'll
Celebrini missed
remember that.
some games. Hudson had a great year. A lot of people like to dog on him for a lot of secondary assists. I don't know if voters care about that as much, but
At most, I think that's
I've
a tiebreaker stat that they might look at if it's really close. But like, I don't think that's something they're looking at early on in their voting.
yeah, I don't think that's like if yeah, I think a tiebreaker, but I don't think that's like a major factor they're looking at. But I'm gonna go with Wolf, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going with Hudson,
But at
but
the end of the day,
I wouldn't
whichever
mind.
3 wins, deserving. Like there should no be oh they didn't deserve it. Every one of these guys has a very solid case to win,
Yeah,
and it's just what did the voters
the
what
season
mattered to them the
Michkov
most.
had, he would probably win the. He's not even the top 3, and he would probably win the Calder. Uh, Probably at least like 3 or 4 out of the last 10 years if he was a rookie in those years.
Mhm.
And he wasn't even a finalist. Like, yeah, any of
The
these guys,
the start of September.
there's two snubs regardless.
Mhm.
And
The start of September, the 1 and 2 in Calder odds was Michkov and Stankoven. And now neither one are even a finalist. So that just goes to show how great of a year all 3 of these guys had.
yeah, and there was plenty of times throughout the year where it was, Michkov was the favorite. Okay, now it's Celebrini. Now it's Wolf. And now it's Hudson. Now it's back to Wolf. Celebrini. Like the favorite throughout the year, not just guys who are likely. The number one guy jumped around
Mhm.
multiple times. So like
Yeah.
it really was one of the best Calder races we've seen in a long time. I don't know if I've ever personally watched one this good. Maybe Makar Hughes,
Yeah.
but
Um,
yeah, and like you said,
we'll see what
yeah,
happens with it though.
they really want a goalie to be in these conversations more, but yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
they
know if
just
it's
don't
they
play.
necessarily want to, but I think the fact that it's right there, they're like, man, this is so cool. Because you
Yeah,
just never envision a goalie being in the Calder based on the way it's gone the last however many years.
yeah,
The Giddy Factor.
the Giddy Factor.
Um,
Um,
what do we got left here?
we got 2 left. We got the Ted Lindsay Award. That is the best. I believe that one's just like the most exceptional player in the NHL, voted on by the players.
Yeah.
So not most valuable, just kind of blanket the best player voted on by the players. The finalists are Nathan McKinnon on the Avalanche, Nikita Kucherov on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Cale Makar also on the Colorado Avalanche. Quite a few double ups on some of these awards, which we really don't see very often.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it was only 2 Florida players on the Selke and then these 2 on the Lindsay, but it just doesn't happen very much.
It doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
It's not a lot, but it's weird it happened twice.
I think I know your pick, but who's your prediction for the Ted Lindsay?
So, obviously, we're going with what we think it's going to be, not what not what we want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more torn on this one than I think any of the other ones. A lot of the other ones felt rather obvious to me. I'm gonna go with Kucherov. I It's really close between him and Makar for me. I think the players respect the fuck out of what Makar can do as a defenseman. Um, I really don't know. It feels so close. I don't even know how to tie break it. The reason I'm picking Kucherov is because when we covered the Players Association polls, Kucherov did well in a lot of the categories in there, voted on by the players who vote on this award. And so I'm thinking they're just he's caught the attention of more of the other players around the league. And between that and maybe some of them think he was snubbed for the Hart or the Lindsay last year, maybe that'll get him a few more votes. Maybe the 2 being on the same team kind of takes some votes away from each other, but like I don't think there's a wrong answer out of any of these 3.
I'm gonna go with the one that you actually didn't say as being close between. I'm actually going with Nathan McKinnon. Um, for multiple reasons. The best way to sum it up is what he did this season and kind of carrying that Colorado team despite how many injuries that they had to start the year. Um, is a big thing, and it's supposed to just be kind of regular season whatnot. But again, it's the players, so who knows exactly what's going through that. I think a big reason why I'm going with McKinnon is because he played all throughout the Four Nations, and not only was Canada's best player, but he did win the MVP of that tournament. And to not get that rest that some other guys got, and again, to some of those other guys, it's unfair because they didn't have a chance to, because there's only 4 countries that went. But for McKinnon to go into the Four Nations, win the MVP, and come back and still dominate down the stretch that he did, I think players are going to vote for him. Again, it is supposed to just be NHL regular season, but because it's the players, I think some of them are going to take that Four Nations into consideration.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest
I wouldn't be
reason why I'm
surprised.
going with Nathan McKinnon for this one. Like, if it was these 3 for the Hart, different conversation. But because it's the players, I think they're going to factor that Four Nations in.
Yeah.
They're going to include that
That's
as
a great
part
point.
of it.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it factored for the Hart a little bit as well. If things like that, because like at the end of the day, it is just a bunch of people voting on these. People are subject to their biases. They don't hear some things that might be pertinent. Like, you like to think that they're not going to mess up too bad, and you like to think it's not malicious, but then you see McDavid at 5th in a year where everyone else had him first, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so there are some idiots in there, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset if any of these 3 won. Honestly, like
All 3 are deserving.
fantastic seasons. And if nothing more, I wish this trophy, I've definitely said it before because I feel strongly on it, this needs to be marketed more. Everyone talks about the Hart Trophy. It's the Hart, man. That's the best one. No, let's talk about the Ted Lindsay. It's a better award because it's the players voting
Opinion.
on it.
Yeah.
And it's not this whole who's most valuable. It's, hey, players, who's the fucking best at hockey?
Yeah.
That feels like it should have the most weight.
Yeah.
And I think to the
would agree
players
with
it
that.
does, honestly. I feel like I've heard plenty of players say, like, it means more coming from their peers than than the guys watching and looking at stats all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming from a guy who watches and looks at stats all the time.
And then lastly, the last award to wrap this one up, we do have the Hart Memorial Trophy. That is the league MVP, as they put it. The finalists are Leon Draisaitl, Connor Hellebuck, and Nikita Kucherov. I am very excited for this one specifically this year because you look at past years and it's usually three forwards, and you're just trying to compare between three different forwards, and one had the most goals, one had the most points, and one did something else spectacular type of thing. Whereas this year you've got the Rocket Richard winner, the goaltender who's probably going to win the Vezina and should, and then the Art
Yeah.
Ross winner. And it's kind of take your pick between them type of thing, whereas you're not necessarily comparing like three forwards, it's comparing three kind of different players in different areas of the game. So I think that makes it more so than past years exciting to see how the votes shake out in this one.
Yeah. I do think it's more exciting than some of the past years as well, but almost for a different reason. Just the fact that outside of Kucherov, you have four other nominees for these. It is incredibly common to see the three finalists for the Lindsay and the three finalists for the Hart be the exact same three guys. These are the three best guys this season. But we have, McKinnon and Makar. Like, you picked McKinnon to win the Ted Lindsay. They didn't even have him as a Hart Trophy finalist. I'm sure he was up there, but
wasn't one of the top three.
It's crazy that it's not just one guy of difference, it's two. Like,
yeah, you're all right. That doesn't happen very often.
It's very interesting to me, and I would have sooner expected Hellebuck to be up for the Lindsay and not the Hart. I would have sooner expected the players to give him his due and him to get snubbed by the reporters and the Writers Association that votes on the Hart. But no, it was the other way around. And if I'm honest, my pick's Hellebuck. I think they're giving it to the goalie. You were talking about the hype factor, the Giddy Factor, and I don't think it's going to fully work in the Calder conversation as much as Wolf deserves it. I think it's going to work with the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I mean, Hellebuck, 47 wins. That's tied for second most all time in a season. He had a 2.0 goals against. Actually, did have it below a 2. He was at a 1.98. Before, I think it was just their last game actually against the Ducks, and
I think he dropped it below 2 a couple of times in the past month. And anytime you let in 3 or 4 or 5 goals, all of a sudden it goes back up. Like, there's a reason it's so hard to get it that low.
And then maintain it and keep it that low, yeah. And it's nothing against Draisaitl and Kucherov, both great years. If either one of them wins, I'm totally okay with that. Like, it's but I think having Hellebuck
this is the most open.
What he did,
I think this is the most open I've ever personally felt about the Hart and Lindsay. Usually I have pretty solid opinion on, like, I feel like this guy should win. It's all often close, unless McDavid really goes off in a year. But this year, like, any of the three could win the Hart, any of the three could win the Lindsay, and there's easily an argument to be made.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the only ones in my opinion that feel like are kind of a lock is the Vezina and Norris. But other than that, I think the rest of them are pretty wide open, and we could see anything happen with these. It's always tough to tell with these guys voting and whatnot. But that will wrap up everything for this episode. Hope everybody enjoyed this one. Hope you guys are enjoying all of the playoff hockey as much as we are. If you want to join in on the conversation and the hockey talk, you can do so through any of our socials. The links to all of our socials are across all episodes on all platforms. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. You know what? For final thoughts, just because we've been talking about all these end of season awards, let's throw out one prediction each on the Conn Smythe. One more trophy. And you know what? I think I already said earlier, but like, it's not a revolutionary pick, but I'm going Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mikko Rantanen is my front runner for it right now for sure.
On a team that easily looks like they could go all the way and win the cup. Dude's been dominating.
leading all players in points and goals right now. So
yeah,
that's
Dude's
that's a big old factor right there.
He's playing out of his mind right now.
But that will wrap it up for this episode. Once again, hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you lovely people out on the ice next week.